My friends, good morning. Have we any visitors this morning? Nobody. Well, welcome. Yes, from where? Cincinnati, Ohio. Welcome. Okay. Today, we continue our celebration of Easter, which you know by now is 7 weeks long. We find ourselves in the third week. It's the longest season in the church year because the resurrection of Christ is the most important. As we pray today, we look at the gospel and we see Jesus has appeared to the disciples. According to John's gospel, the disciples have now gone back home to Galilee, which was up in the northern part of the country. And as you remember, Peter, James, John, they were all fishermen, as well as Andrew. And so they apparently went back to fishing. And this story begins by them being out fishing and not catching much. And Jesus tells them to cast off the right side of the boat, which of course shows that he was a carpenter and not a fisherman, because a fisherman would never say right side. Correct? Okay. Starboard, right? Am I right? I'm not a fisherman, so. So anyway, they have this great catch of fish, and Jesus prepares them breakfast. Now, this is after the resurrection. And so he's apparently sitting there teaching them, and he says to Simon Peter, he says, "Simon Peter, do you love me?" Now, in English, you don't quite get it, so you have to go home and read it in Greek to fully comprehend what Jesus is saying, because he uses two different words. In English, it's just rendered love. But in the Greek, Jesus says to Simon Peter, "Do you love me?" And he uses the word twice, philia. Now, what's philia mean? No, philia. Philadelphia. Brotherly love. The city of brotherly love. Okay? So he uses the word philia. But the third time, after Peter gets all huffy, he uses the word agape. And what's the word agape mean? Anybody? It means self-sacrificial love. So not do you love me as a brother, but will you die for me? So there's a much different change in tenor there, but English doesn't quite get it. Okay? Now, the point is this, for you and me, is that Jesus draws us into his ministry. He draws us into his church, into his life. And he does that by loving us as a peer, by loving us as a brother or sister. And that's how we draw others into the faith as well, by showing them hospitality, by caring for them, by being attentive to their needs, by walking with them as brothers and sisters. But what we get drawn into is agape love, where we not only now care for their needs, but because of Christ, true love would call us to die for the other. Now, does that mean we're going to throw ourselves in front of a pat bus? You know, if we still have them? No. Oh, it might. But it's unlikely. But what true love really does is it causes us to focus away from ourselves to the needs of others. So agape love is when a parent gets up in the middle of the night to take care of a sick child, when they would rather stay in bed. Agape love is when a child takes care of an aging parent, when they would rather be about their own agenda. Agape love is when husband or wife is willing to stretch themselves for the good of the other. That's the kind of love we're called to, the kind of love that pulls us away from ourselves as the center and causes us to focus on others. So as you and I pray today, as you and I go about our business during this resurrection time, during this Easter season, let us focus on what kind of love we practice. Is our love merely friendship? Is our love merely brotherhood? Or have we been drawn into agape love? We really are willing and able to set aside our own agenda for the sake of the other, where we can set aside what we want, what makes us comfortable, for the good of the one we say we love. If we spend time truly focusing on what agape love is, we wouldn't have marital discord. We wouldn't have familial pain and discord. We wouldn't have people arguing and fighting, because in agape love, we would stretch ourselves in order to envelop the other within our love. Look at your own relationships. Look at your own life. Look at the place where you work, the place where you live, the place where you recreate. What kind of love is there? It's time for us to, because of the resurrection, the ultimate act of agape love, where Jesus was willing to die for you and for me. It's time for us now to emulate that, and in our love, to stretch ourselves out of our comfort zone into the needs of those around us. Do you love me, Simon Peter, was spoken not just to him, but to all of us. Do you love me as a brother, or do you love me truly as one who would die for me? That's the message of Jesus to each of us today. How do we answer? Be at peace.